Batman The Adventures Continue Chapter 7 sees Batman pursuing Catwoman across the Gotham rooftops, using his grapple gun to take the crown Selina had stolen, but the villain doesn't seem so concerned about it, blowing a kiss to the Dark Knight as she escapes. Suddenly she is binded by a bowler, thrown by a red-caped individual who scoops up Catwoman as Batman gives chase, knowing this is someone new to town. The being unsheaths his flaming sword, cutting the water tower Batman grappled onto and causing him to fall. Luckily, the Dark Knight grapples onto the roof, swinging out of the way of the tower, but in doing so loses Catwoman and the strange being. In an alley, Catwoman is dumped onto the floor by the man, who tells Catwoman he is from St Dumas and wants the shawl Catwoman took. The man threatens to gouge out Selina's eyes so she would tell him, but Batman arrives, disarming him with a batarang. The man attacks Bruce, telling him that this is his business, as Jason watches Batman fighting the assassin, telling him he thought the man was the one who's been shadowing him this whole time, but the red-caped man says he isn't, and Batman knows that. Batman soon recognizes the man's moves, knowing he fought this man a lifetime ago, so he decides to end this now, deploying a gas bomb, but the being reacts quickly, grabbing his sword and escaping before the gas can properly affect him. Batman demands Catwoman tell him about the shawl, so Catwoman tells him about the shawl of Madeline, but Batman knows it is the shawl of the Magdalene, and it's meant to possess healing properties. Catwoman thinks that in that case she can put it on Batman's dead heart, but Batman gets serious, grabbing her and telling her a vengeful god rules the Order of St Dumas, and they have no mercy. Selina doesn't have the shawl, however, since she gave it to her contact, saying that she will be ready for the next time the armored man arrives, but Batman says he wants her to trust him with the name so he can protect her. Batman has Catwoman arrested, telling Gordon to keep her under a 24-hour guard as he gets a call from Alfred, learning he has a visitor in the cave. Going home, Bruce meets with Jean-Paul Valley, who always thought Bruce Wayne was Batman, and now he knows for sure. He says that he felt tracking down Catwoman for the shawl would be more effective in the armor he wore, something akin to the Batman, and he was right, since everyone pointed him towards Catwoman. Batman tells Jean-Paul the armor is a bit too imposing, but Jean-Paul says that he goes by Azrael now, and wonders what name the Order would have called Bruce if he had stuck around. Azrael wasn't surprised, however, that Bruce left, since he was not in it for the long run, and was only there for the art of war teachings, not the church portion. Azrael knows Bruce doesn't believe in the power of the shawl, and Bruce says that he'd rather have actual medical help on hand than a piece of cloth. Talk soon turns to Selina, and Azrael says that she will have to suffer for taking the cloth, but Batman knows that it wasn't her idea, and she told him who had her steal it for them. Bruce won't tell Azrael who it is until he can be reasonable, and he and Alfred will even make him a set of armor that will make him look a little bit more like an ally than an enemy. Jean-Paul says he can be reasonable, as later the two head to the Iceberg Lounge, confronting Penguin, who isn't too concerned Batman brought his cousin. Batman says that they want the shawl, but Oswald says that he was merely a middleman in the transaction and the buyer was anonymous. Azrael has had enough of his games, attacking the villain, but Batman pulls him off of him as Oswald gives him the name of Mr. Wing, his giant bodyguard who appears behind the heroes and grabs them, as Penguin says Mr. Wing will be the last name the heroes hear. Batman The Adventures Continue Chapter 7 was kind of a ham-fisted way of introducing the animated series version of Azrael. I found his introduction to be just kind of glossed over really quickly, and then all of a sudden Bruce is offering to build him a new costume in a pretty terrible way just to justify that bat-themed suit that we saw in toys that is being made for toys in this universe's art style. Bruce also being quick to trust again after the Deathstroke story seems really out of character for him. I didn't think he would just immediately trust a man, albeit he knew him before he was Batman, but still, he wouldn't really trust this guy who he's seen already is willing to kill for what he wants. Feels kind of disjointed because of that, and if the story had come before the Deathstroke story, it might have been given a little bit more leeway, but right now, it just seems like they're rushing through all this Azrael story pretty quickly just to get him into a position where Azrael has to fight Batman. I'm going to give this issue a 4 out of 10.